Mr. Chairman, may I put a statement on the record prior to public testimony or public hearing?
Absolutely, Director Springfield.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item 9D contains membership information regarding the terms for planning and zoning commissioners. The appointment dates reflect a correction of appointment dates. Due to an administrative error, the recent appointments of planning and zoning commissioners from District 2, 3, and 4 were incorrectly assigned to new 2-year terms. These appointments should have been appointed to fill the remainder of the terms vacated. The appointment dates within the staff report that you have reflect the corrected appointment dates. Staff has already begun instituting new administrative practices to ensure future appointments will be correct. Additionally, staff has begun a review of the bylaws governing the appointment and removal of planning commissioners. Staff views the section of the bylaws to be vague and needs to be expanded to clarify appointments and removals.
Thank you, Director Springfield. I do have some folks here from the public who want to speak to this subject, and let me count them off here. Bob Wesley. Mr. Wesley, come on up. Yeah, I was going to inform him. He's been here before, so I think he knows the drill. 3 minutes is your allotted time. Please lean into the mic when you speak and state your name and address first, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Bob Wesley, 56% of San Antonio Placitas. And I would first like to refer you to Chapter 40 of the Sandoval County Ordinances, as posted on the website. Chapter 40 contains an ordinance number 10-1-21.9F, which was passed at your meeting on January 21, 2010. This is the ordinance establishing the Planning and Zoning Commission. Section B2 says members shall serve staggered terms of 2 years, and other things. Section B3, an incumbent member shall serve the full term unless he resigns or is removed for cause under the terms of this article. Section B4, members may be removed for cause stated in writing, included but not limited to frequent unexcused absences. Members shall be removed by a majority vote of the Board of County Commissioners following a public hearing. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I'm afraid I must report you an action by staff that is inconsistent with the requirements of your ordinance. At your meeting on October 6, 2016, consent agenda item 6D was, quote, approval to appoint Joanne Rowe, District 2 of the Planning and Zoning Commission for a 2-year term, end quote. According to the video transcription, the entire consent agenda was unanimously approved. My understanding is that on January 4th, 17, Mr. Springfield by telephone informed Planning and Zoning Commissioner Roque that she had been removed from the Planning and Zoning Commission. Contrary to the requirements of your ordinance, there is no indication of written statement of cause, nor was there any indication of public hearing having taken place, nor was there any indication of a majority vote of county commissioners. Mr. Chairman, I urge you to investigate the origins of this apparent violation of the county ordinance. And as a result of the investigation, I would further urge you to take appropriate remedial or punitive action. Thank you. And I have copies, if I may, hand them to you.
You have a transcript, sir, of your talk?
I'm sorry?
A transcript of your talk?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
You bet. Mr. Alan Friedman. Step right up, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Chairman and Commissioner. My name is Alan Friedman, and I reside at 52 Anasazi Trails Loop in Placitas. I want to add just a little bit to what Bob Leslie has said. In addition to the term of Joanne Rourke, the term of Bobby Green and Alonzo Clayton were altered. These three people were appointed unanimously to 2-year terms by the County Commission last year in accordance with the ordinance that relates to that. There is nothing in that ordinance that speaks to replacement candidates serving out the remainder of a person's term. What it says is a person is appointed to a 2-year position. So, as I say, the original document, committee assignments, as Mike Springfield has said, reflected the original dates that were assigned to those 2-year terms. But in the last 4 or 5 days, were altered to reflect shortened terms, without any input from the public hearing or the board. So, the commission. So, as I say, Commissioner Clayton's term was reduced by 3 months. Commissioner Green's term was reduced by 6 months, and Commissioner Rourke's term was reduced by 19 months. So I think, as I say, it's an important issue that the County Commission needs to address.
Thank you, Mr. Friedman. Now calling for Mr. Mike Neese.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I would like to reiterate a couple of things. With regard to the changing of the terms that were voted on unanimously in all these cases, I think that it is bad precedent and bad policy and not in keeping with good government if we were to consider these maybe at-will appointments. We've got some very big issues coming up for the Planning and Zoning Commission, and I think the people in this room, and many of us, are perfectly satisfied with the commissioners that are in place, the Planning and Zoning Commissioners that are in place now, and would not like to see them replaced. I'd like to call your attention even to tonight's agenda. Tonight's agenda on item number 6, you approved the agenda. On item number 6A, you approved the minutes for the regular meeting. And on 6F, you approved an appointment for Christopher Dahl for a 6-month term. And so I don't see it as a clerical error when somebody might come back and tell Chris Dahl, oh, by the way, it was only a 3-month term. It was a 6-month term. It was voted on. It was passed. The minutes were passed. It's on audio tape. I would suggest, and I ask for you to leave these terms as is. But one more thing, too. We have a 7th position open, and I believe that's a 2nd position out of Commissioner Eichwald's district, and he's got 60 days to make that appointment. I would hope that he would do that with his own people, rather than let it fall to others to make that appointment.
Mr. Chairman, I do have somebody in mind that we would like to fill that position, but I'll let the county manager know who that is and deal with it at a later date.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Mr. Neese. I hope I'm not messing this up. Lars Panaro. Did I get it right?
Spot on.
Oh, great. Thank you, sir. Please state your name and address.
My name is Lars Panaro, and I live at 380 San Andres Road, Corrales, New Mexico. Commissioners, Mr. Chair, thank you. So the first thing I wanted to say is that as far as I can remember, Corrales has always had a seat on the Planning and Zoning Committee. Prior to the current committee, it was Sam Thompson, and then before her it was Ralph Martinez. And so on that note, Sandoval is a really diverse county, as you probably all are well aware. And Rio Rancho, it is my understanding at least, that Rio Rancho has 2 seats already filled on the Planning and Zoning Committee, sorry. So I feel like it's really taking a hit to diversity to remove Joanne Roque from that committee for what I can see is really no good or justifiable reason. While Corrales is a municipality and we have our own ordinances, we are definitely impacted by the county, just as the county is impacted by the state, and the state is impacted by the federal government, and so on and so forth. So the other thing is planning and zoning is quasi-judicial, and there's a good reason for the 2-year set terms. Because basically, as I see it, one of those reasons at least is so that there's no arbitrary removal of a committee member by the commission because perhaps the members of the commission maybe don't agree with the political leanings of a committee member, or they don't agree with the way they voted or how they recommended, made a recommendation regards to planning and zoning. So that sets a very dangerous precedent, because if you all can just remove somebody based on a supposed clerical error, it's not really good oversight, and it's not really in the spirit of the foundations of this country and the ideals of democracy, at least as I see it, and I think a lot of people here would agree with me on that. I guess the final thing I want to say is, you can justify it however you want. This clerical error thing, I think Mike Neese put it really well. And the speakers before him too. It's not really logical or right to just go back and say, well, it was a clerical error. Well, see, even if it was a clerical error, people still voted on it. And I just want to give a quick example of this. A good friend of mine was in California, was at one point renting out a room in her condo, and when she drew up the rental contract agreement, she made a clerical error, and basically said that the first month was such and such amount of money, but that all subsequent months were a higher amount of money. She meant to do the same thing on all the months. She meant to charge the same amount, but she screwed up. She realized it, uttered some phrases I won't utter here, but then owned up to it because it was the honorable and correct thing to do. Instead of saying, well, I made a clerical error, so you have to pay more for this first month, it was, okay, I made a clerical error, you were supposed to pay more, but that's okay. We signed it, we agreed upon it. It was a legally binding thing. So I think that same situation holds here, and just like she made the honorable decision to honor that, I think that needs to happen here because it will set a precedent for the future, and it will, in essence, uphold the ideals of democracy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pinaro. Mary Feldblum?
Yes, you got it right.
I'm in rare form tonight.
I would say so.
Getting these names right.
I know this gentleman from Corrales days.
Oh.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, my name is Mary Feldblum. I live at 670 Manure Road in Corrales, and I'm a former Planning and Zoning Commissioner. I was a commissioner for 5 years. I chaired for 3 years in the village of Corrales. And it is really shocking that first Joanne heard that she was fired, essentially, taken off. Then it was a clerical error. Then it was discovered that there are 2 others that were also voted on unanimously by this body to have 2-year terms, and they were also filling vacated terms of commissioners. And then on Tuesday night, and I was really glad that Commissioner Block appeared before my village council. He mentioned that there is now a legal case for the county to do this. And he mentioned Danish versus Johnson, which I'm sure you're quite familiar with. And it deals with the regions of New Mexico Tech. My dad and grandfather were lawyers, and they always told me, you put 10 lawyers in a room and you'll get 10 different opinions. So I hope this, I'm a social scientist, not a lawyer, and I have sought some legal opinions. And so far, I have two that I've talked to that are absolutely unanimous, which shocks me. And that's because that case, that decision, was based on the regions, and the requirements for appointments of the regions is in the New Mexico Constitution. The county has separate authority. It's not in the Constitution. Some counties have planning and zoning commissions, some don't. And then counties set up their own rules. So the ordinance that Bob Wesley has quoted to you is the one that really applies. And so the two lawyers told me, they said the decision really is not on point. You probably know that language, I don't. And so we need to know, are there other cases that justify this action? And I think the public should know. And I do think that the solution is, there's really, I'm so glad to hear that the Planning and Zoning Division is fixing this problem and clarifying. And it just seems to me, in the three people who were unanimously supported for 2-year terms, let them finish those terms and then deal with, the new process, the new appointments accordingly. I don't think it's fair to Bobby Green, who was appointed for 2 years, and he appeared before the county commission, and I'm sure there was applause for his appointment. I don't think it's fair to tell people who would say, I will do this. It's a lot of work to be on the Planning and Zoning Commission, enormous amount of work. It's a lot of commitment. And I think, one thing I would ask you to think about is if there is a term that's vacated, does it make sense to say to somebody, well, we're only going to appoint you for 3 months? Because I can really tell you, is from what I've heard from not only some of your former county commissioners, but in other county commissioners, and I know in the village, how difficult it is to find somebody that's qualified to sit on the planning and zoning. Planning and zoning has very important decisions to make. They're quasi-judicial appointments, and of course, the decisions they make can be overturned, and you have the power, if there's an appeal, to overturn those decisions if you don't like them. But it all has to have a legal basis to it. It's a judicial process. And so I just hope that you can resolve this amicably for the 3 people, and it makes a lot of sense to let them finish their terms, and then let's correct things. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Feldman, for your comments. So now we've had discussion about agenda item 9D. We've had public comment. Do I hear a motion to approve agenda item 9D?
Mr. Chairman, motion to approve.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a motion to approve from Commissioner Block and a second from Vice Chair Heil. Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Rodriguez.
Yes.
Commissioner Block.
Yes.
Commissioner Heil.
Yes.
Commissioner Wood.
Yes.
Chairman Chapman.
Chairman votes yes.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, thank you.
Thank you, County Manager Rios. Agenda item number 10 is comments from the public. I don't think I have anybody else left that wanted to speak, but just let me make sure that I'm not missing anybody. And one of the things that I plan to do running these meetings is, if you didn't sign up for public comment, but you would still like to address the county commission tonight, is there anyone in the audience that wants to do so? Yes, ma'am. Come right on up. State your name and your address.
I
sorry?
And lean into the mic.
Lean into the mic, yes, I left that part out, thank you.
I'm Jacqueline Deniston at 220 Moonstone Drive in Rio Rancho. And I would like to talk about what I consider the illegal attempt to remove Sandoval County Planning and Zoning Commissioner Joanne Woolsey. In the push to remove her, it seems like people in the Planning and Zoning Commission may be more sympathetic to fracking in Sandoval County than she is. And I personally am against fracking. I don't want it in Sandoval County. I don't want it in New Mexico because it is not good for the environment. And so I feel that anyone interested in our environment, and I mean, in New Mexico, that's a pretty vital part of what we consider dear to us. And a lot of us have moved here because of the environment, the scenic part, as well as the fresh air and the clean water and all those good things. So I'm hoping that you can take action to put a stop to that, to revoke it or whatever it is you had to do. Obviously, the speaker before me knows a lot more about the process than I do. I just wanted to say I totally agree, and I think she should remain on planning and zoning.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming out.